It's the end of the world as we know it. At least that's what REM said. But not even they could have predicted the end of physical media. Sony PlayStation saying they're done with discs. Xbox likely to follow suit. Now some say Nintendo might save the day. Others say, oh wait, that's all a trick anyway. Today, we'll explain what's going on and why all the digital stuff you own, you don't really own. And they're going to make sure you never can have it again. What a day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming our way where we explain entertainment and keep you ahead of the culture curve. A PhD level of understanding delivered to you in this video. And there is no tuition. You are all on scholarship. Smash the like button and off we go. Say goodbye to physical media. Is it happening? Is it gone? And does that mean you won't own anything anymore? Fake Wizard is posting this, says, hey, it was fun while it lasted, but gamers lost. You gave up all your power to the corporations. This was a big game of chess, and you lost. What's he talking about? Well, he's talking about this from Sid Schumann, Senior Director of Sony Interactive Entertainment Content Communications. Boy, he's got a heck of a lapel. It says, as consumer preferences in the broader entertainment industry continue to shift away from physical discs to digital, physical game disc production for all new games releasing on PlayStation consoles will be discontinued starting January of 2028, which gives us plenty of time to let them know we're irate about this. Following this date, new games will be available on PlayStation Store and at retailers in digital formats only. This transition has no impact on games that are already released or will be releasing prior to the January 2028 in disc format. This is a natural direction for Sony Interactive Entertainment to adapt to consumer trends as the general preference for digital media significantly outpaces physical discs. This transition will enable us to align more closely with how most of our community prefers to access and play games today. We'll continue to prioritize our resources to drive innovation in how players can access games and provide choices as to where players prefer to purchase new games, whether that's at retailers or PlayStation Store. We remain committed to delivering a world-class gaming experience to our fans, and we thank you for your continued support. Wired is saying this. They basically say Sony's PlayStation puts a nail in physical media's coffin. So, yeah, we are not in nuanced statements now. It looks like it could be the end. Microsoft is saying that they're going to follow up. Of course, we all know that it's hard to find Blu-rays these days. DVDs, what's that? The problem, though, for those who don't know, the problem seems to be, Lorne, that with games and movies and the prices getting to insane levels, I mean, GTA 6 is supposed to cost $100. The idea that you will buy a game digitally, you can be banned from having the game digitally with no recourse, and you have no physical asset, means that you're spending $100 for something that can be taken away from you. You can't get a refund so far as we can tell. You essentially own nothing. And a lot of people find that to be hugely problematic. What say you?
That's correct. And this is an issue I've been banging the drum on for quite a while. I actually had an X post today go semi-viral for me because of my comments on it, but there's a number of issues that are in play here. The big one for me is game preservation, because it's a little bit like the old movie industry. Back before you had the ability to own your movies at home, there wasn't really anything being done to preserve movies. The studios didn't really think that they would have anything to do with them after they went through their first run, and eventually it became a cause du jour for people to find a way to preserve the films until they could be put in some kind of a more stable format. I feel that the game industry needs something similar. Now, on the PC side of the house, we've been dealing with this for a very long time because almost all games are digital there as well. And I could make the argument that on the console space, technically they kind of are too, because even if you have a physical disc, most games these days don't run standalone. They have some type of authentication or live service, and inevitably have dozens of patches that come out after release. So the ability to have a game, unless it's something that runs on like a offline console, it's not as common as it once was. My argument has more to do with the storefront. they want to control where you can get the game from. They're trying to eliminate the secondary market. And this is a place where the PC side of the house has got an advantage because right now there's at least competing storefronts, and that kind of keeps some of the developers honest. They don't want to have a secondary resale market. They don't want to not be able to continually charge you for the software that you've already bought. The argument that they're making, and what the EULA technically says, is that you don't own this, you're licensing it, and it's been that way for a long time. I think now we're in a position, especially with hardware spikes that have been occurring and hardware developers moving to the commercial market and cutting themselves out of the consumer market, there's a real danger here for people who are gamers to not be able to run or maintain your own machines. They want to move you to a cloud service model and a subscription as a service model. And I think now is the time to be making an awful lot of noise and punishing these companies who are doing everything that they can to make sure that you control what you can do with your software. You need to retain control of the ability to have local compute, or we'll lose this amazing technological age that we've had for the last 30 years.
Lou, there are companies that are trying to go in the opposite direction. We don't know how this is going to play out. But Nintendo so far shows no signs of dropping their physical media. And that could be a real differentiator in the, in the mind of consumers. It's going to be funny to me if Nintendo, can say to people, well, we still have cartridges, something we've been doing since 1985. Yeah. And that causes them to thrive versus Sony and Xbox doing what they're doing. Because as long as I have that little, if I've got Mario Odyssey on the little, cartridge, I know you can't change it. I can get offline and I can plug that in. And even if you screwed everything up about the game in the latest update, or even if you, decided that I've had bad behavior and I'm not allowed to have this anymore, as long as I've got my little cartridge, you can't stop me. I own the thing.
And this will be a huge blow to the big retailers, the Walmarts and the Best Buys, because when it says, well, you'll be able to buy it at retailers, what are you going to buy? A piece of paper with a code that you then go online for? Not the same world at all. And it would be interesting, Pro, given that games are very different from each other and certain ones are bigger hits. But if that advantage for Nintendo stretches to the point of, well, I like their games, but I like the other guy's games, which machine will I buy? I think I'll buy the one I can use the cartridges on, if that's the deciding factor.
Yeah, and Culture, the other thing too is, for people who wonder, well, why are you guys upset about this? We just came out of a major decade of censorship. And we have seen, on Disney Plus and on these other services, we have seen, one of the most recent was Crocodile Dundee. They re-released Crocodile Dundee, and they cut out parts of the movie because they're objectionable now in the eyes of those who try to gatekeep, what is politically correct. I thought the parts they cut out were hilarious. I don't find any offense to them. But the thing is, if I own a physical copy of Crocodile Dundee from the past, I have that forever. They can't change it. Right. But what we're trying to do, I think, when we're defending physical media, is we're trying to stop these censorship nannies who want to stop us from having what was the original product.
And of course, that's their real motivation, is controlling the message. It's not about hardware, software. It's about control.
Well, I would like to agree with Lauren 100% on the removal of the secondary market. Even secondhand stores, bookstores, I'm sure they'd like to get rid of the secondhand books. I'm sure they'd like to get rid of the secondhand software. I'm sure they'd like to get anything secondhand. They're terrified of the fact that we can go back in the past, grab our DVDs, and we can watch something that they may find objectionable, but they can't do anything about it. They can't stop the DVD from playing. They're trying to get out of the disc business. They're trying to move away from a lot of these things. I'm all about preserving not just games, but films. I don't want music to go away because somebody finds it offensive. Like, could you imagine that something like Public Enemy, their early albums were now being censored? And worse yet, Pro, this is something we haven't discussed in a while. I want to remind everybody, these streaming services can add things in real time to something that you're watching. That's something they've been working on for a while. They can also censor something in real time. well, why? They live in this country. We can't have this piece of material going out to this particular IP. This becomes essentially selective censorship, and that's an even bigger problem. I mean, imagine going back and rewriting 1984 so that, it gives us a different message. Or let's say rewriting Animal Farm.
I was just saying they did it with Animal Farm.
Yeah, that's where I was headed. Is that
180 on that one, eh?
Yeah.
Atlas Shrugged is about to be pro-commie propaganda.
Wow, yeah. Ayn Rand would be spinning right now. Go ahead.
In my opinion, what they really are trying to do is ensure that you're having to pay a monthly fee to play whatever game that you want to play, because that gives them predictable cash flow, which is what they really want. Yeah. And when you take into account, as I said, I think that in my mind, I think Microsoft and a number of the hardware companies are looking at Valve and being very concerned about what they're planning to do with an alternative ecosystem. And I think that the hardware scarcity has sort of kneecapped the release of the Steam Machine Redux that they were going to put out. I think that's something people need to be keeping a real close eye on, because Valve was mounting a challenge in an entire ecosystem, both hardware and software, to allow you to get away from some of these corporate interests that do not have your interests at heart. And I know a lot of people don't like Valve because you have issues there as well. It is a digital storefront. It is there is DRM on the system. It's not like GOG. But from my standpoint, I don't believe, to my knowledge anyway, there has been a game ever removed from Valve from Steam that, if you purchased, was not still available in your library after. So I tend to.
Does this make you a bigger fan of Nintendo if they come out in the next days and say, we will continue to support cartridges, we're not going to get rid of cartridges? Would that make you a bigger fan?
No. Nintendo, from my standpoint, I think that their cartridges are somewhat faux cartridges. They're more of an authentication key, and they are strictly anti-emulation. I understand why, but there is case law that actually came from movies that allow you to transfer your media to other mediums for preservation purposes. And they also retain the right to brick your Switch 2 remotely, which I think is dastardly. So no, from my standpoint, if I buy the hardware, I can do what I want with it. If I buy the software, I can do what I want with it. I'm just through with the idea that everything in life is going to be licensed and continually monetized. And if you're going to engage in those kind of practices, I'm going to do everything in my power to punish you.
Do we need a law that protects consumers in this regard? I mean, we're reaching the point now, as you're saying, people need to be able to have a copy of something and know that it's theirs. And the idea, I mean, like, for example, should there be a law that says companies cannot require a console to be forced online, or your Blu-ray player, your DVD player, whatever, your home entertainment system, you can't be forced to make it be online. If you want to play it offline, if you want to put in a game and just say, I don't want you guys, I don't want you to tell me how to play the game. I don't want you to adjust how I play the game. I just want to play the game. It's my game. I want to, the idea that they can come in and destroy your system because they disagree with how you're using the system, I think is heinous. I mean, if you're doing something illegal, arrest you.
We have issues in a number of places here because, for one thing, Congress is way behind in understanding how any of this technology works, and they're really bad at legislating things that they don't understand, let alone things that they do understand. So that's problem number one. There are a number of games that are online experiences that don't function unless you have online servers, and you can't force a business to run servers into perpetuity. I think a legal compromise would be fine. If you're not going to continue to support an online game after its release, then there should be a legal requirement that you have to open source the server code so that the community can continue to maintain those servers for play if they wish to do so. Their counter argument would be that would expose their confidential intellectual property and methods of production. But at a certain point, I think the consumer, I think the way EULAs are being structured for a very long time have been completely predatory. Everybody knows that nobody reads them. Everybody knows that you cannot use anything unless you agree to them. They have been abused. I think that there need to be protections in place for the consumers so this predatory behavior stops.
And final question, you guys. I'm going to go to AI, and people are going to say, oh, here he goes again. Oh, my gosh, it's AI. We're at the point now with Mythos and Fable coming back out in the market, GPT 5.6 on its way, and Grok now adding Cursor to what they're doing. You've got at least three. Gemini is included in this, I guess, so four frontier models that are going to be able to do software on demand. Is there any thought that that might be the thing that breaks through these corporations, because independent developers now with super powered programming skills, can they make stuff now and just give it to you and say, you know what, screw the big companies. Here's my version of Photoshop. Here's my version of a game that you loved in the past. Here's my version. It's for free and nobody can take it away from you because you can own the code. I'm giving it to you. Or it's open source.
This is actually why I've been heavily in support of what Valve is doing with making SteamOS. And it is, they have dropped enormous resources into the Proton interpolation layer to get Windows software to run relatively reliably in a Linux environment. For me, the draw isn't the Steam machine or the Steam Deck itself, it's SteamOS. And once they get NVIDIA support in there, I will be converting my machines over to Linux, because at that point there is no reason to continue to support these monsters. I want a system that I control. And I believe industry-wide what they're trying to do is take that away from the individual user. Bear in mind, this isn't just gaming. This is, they don't want you to have a PC on your desktop. They want you to have a terminal that connects to the cloud, that authenticates you, that gives them your identity and access to your data that you have to pay them to maintain into perpetuity. We need to be paying attention to this and not doing business with companies that engage in these practices. And that's painful in the short term, but it forces alternatives to be developed in the long term.
Let me ask this before we go to culture. Let me just clarification, Lauren. You don't have a problem with cloud computing. You have a problem with cloud computing being the exclusive model going forward. You want people to have the opportunity to create their own place to hold and process information at home. Is that right?
I'm not sure I would even go that far. I'm not sure that I can support cloud computing, because I understand the advantages that it brings. I understand why people want it. I especially understand why system administrators want it. But I do not see an environment in which you can continue to have local compute and freedom of use of the hardware that you pay for, the software that you buy, when cloud computing is available, because every corporation in the world is going to want to use it and force it and monetize it. This is not an area where we can rely on the better, our better angels. I don't see any way that this is not a predatory environment, and I think local compute is very much at risk.
Culture, Lou, I'll give you guys the final words on this.
I don't want to live in a world where life is a subscription service. And that's what Lauren is talking about. And to be fair, one of the things I've been working with via AI is recreating all the programs, from the editing software that I use for videos to my own version of Photoshop. This is why. I
love this Culture Shop and
or whatever. You know, it doesn't have to be named after me. But the goal is to replace this, and using tools like Grok to replace the subscription service models is really the last resort for anybody around the globe, because I do not want to be stuck paying to play things that I used to own. And I also really am going to start demanding that there be a repository of physical things. If you've purchased them digitally, you should be getting something physical at this as well, which is why I'm not going to buy GTA 6 until it has a physical release. And I'm not the only person that's saying that.
I can't tell you how much I love the idea of AI being the solution here, where we're just like, you know what? Screw you. I'm going to code my own. Yep. Lauren, wait a minute. I told Lou We love you, Lauren. Go ahead. You get it. You've earned it. You're so smart on this. Go ahead.
I do want to push back on the idea of a GTA physical release as well, though, because my understanding, and you're going to have to correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't played the GTA games. I think they are online games, are they not?
They are.
No, they have an online component, but they're single player games that you can add an online service to.
Well, yes, but a huge component of it is the multiplayer. Like when you're buying the game, part of what you're buying is the multiplayer aspect.
Yeah, but I don't even touch it because I'm not going to buy shark cards.
If you got Mario Kart and you say, well, I don't play it online, it doesn't. It still has an online part to it.
Okay, well, you all can go give money to Take-Two Media when you buy your shark cards to get your fancy gun or car or other.
I'm gonna gift you some horse armor any day now. Go ahead, Lauren.
No, I was just going to make the argument that I think that there are times that publishers push the idea of a physical copy as though you're retaining the game so that you can play it whenever you want, when in actuality it is still kind of like what Nintendo is doing and providing a license and an authentication key that allows you to download and update the game. And if the game is not updated to whatever the current online version is, it doesn't matter if you have a disc. You still can't play it, if you get my meaning. But if this is not strictly an online game, then my point is moot and I concede it.
And I'll tell you this too, physical media doesn't solve everything. So we've got 2 studios here at Somewhere Sunny USA. And in the other studio, what we, in the corner, we've got a Sega Dreamcast. I got a bunch of different consoles, but one of them is a Sega Dreamcast. And I can tell you that the discs for the Sega Dreamcast have deteriorated or do deteriorate. And it's just a matter of time. We've got a bunch of them that are in pristine condition as best we can keep them. They don't work anymore. So as time goes on, physical media does have that issue. And I know there are, various forms that are more and less stable, but we are losing a lot of that stuff. I know that like if you want to play a Sega Saturn, for example, it's very difficult to find a working one, and it's difficult to find the kind of content that you can plug in and make it happen. Lou, any thoughts as we wrap this one up?
Just that as much as I understand everything everybody's said, and I totally agree with Lauren and with Culture, I don't think the motivation primarily is revenue. I think the motivation is political control.
Oh, well, yeah, I'll add that to the bundle, eh? We'll do that. But I
that's really ultimately what they're after. And
informational control.
Yeah. Well, it's been true ever since there's been, totalitarian government anywhere.
I think that's the way to end it, folks. Lots of troubles here. Let us know. Are you going to go to PlayStation and say, no? We've got a year. We'll see. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for checking out the video today. It's such a pleasure every time we get to endeavor together, explaining entertainment and keeping you ahead of the culture curve. If you would be so kind, folks, swerve on down to that like button wherever you may find it and click it, please. It helps us. And you are the gigawatts that send us far and wide across the fruited plains of YouTube. Until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.